ng Pilipino, galing ng ating lahi na sa palad mo. Ipagpatuloy mo, galing ng Pilipino, galing mong natatag, ipagyamanin mo. Oh, 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 galing ipagpatuloy mo.
Hello everyone and Happy New Year and Happy Three Kings to all. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to the first episode of Tao at Serbisyo, ang galing ng Pilipino for the year 2022. It has been almost a year since we started featuring outstanding Filipinos in this virtual event as a substitute for physical events. Because we could not do it due to the pandemic. Admittedly, we have not been very consistent in bringing this to you because we started doing physical events towards the middle of the year. Sadly, however, we are back into some sort of a similar situation as last year. But then again, this gives us the opportunity to let you meet Filipinos who are making waves with the Filipino community here in Germany. Just like our guests for today, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our buena mano for 2022, the not so new kid on the block, but definitely the latest pride of Ulm, Mr. Brian Caleda of Pacifico Food Truck. Hello, Brian. Good morning.
Good morning, Pa. Thank you very much for having me on your program. I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks, Brian. Well, we heard that you recently opened, let me just try to share some pictures, that you recently opened your pop-up restaurant at the All Hotel, which unfortunately we had to miss. Tell us a little bit about it.
So the pop-up restaurant has been opened since the beginning of December. We are a fun and funky Asian fusion food truck, which we started in June. And we were invited by the All Hotel here in Ulm, which is a new hotel that had opened up in June, to do their restaurant for the next 4 months. So we are in the hotel. We are serving our food. It is our kitchen until the end of March.
Okay. So you have your crew, Filipino crew, and also your wife helping, I suppose?
Yes. It was very important for us to have a Filipino crew running the kitchen because it's important for me that we make food that is as authentic as it can be. And of course, Filipinos understand Filipino food. And also the crew that we have in there, if you look at these pictures, there are 3 full Filipinos, and then Danny there is half German, half Filipino. And we all have a good idea of the kind of menu that we wanted to present, which is coming from not just the Philippines, but also from different places in which I've lived and traveled.
So this place also has a bar?
Yes.
Yeah, and what's your opening hours, by the way, in this restaurant?
So the restaurant is open from Tuesday to Sunday, and we do serve lunch from 11:30 until 2:30, and then dinner service starts at 5 o'clock, and then it runs until 10 o'clock.
So you have some sort of a broken time in between, huh? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And the restaurant itself is it's very new to. I've only lived here in Ulm for the last 2 years. I'm new to Germany. And I haven't seen a restaurant concept like this in the city. This is first of its kind because they do have a bar, a lounge, as well as a dining area. There's a terrace. And what's nice is that I haven't seen anything like it here in the city.
Yes, and yours is an Asian fusion because, most people would associate Asian with either Chinese or Thai food. But you offer a fusion, huh?
That's right. So the menu itself, I think, is a little bit different from what people would expect when it comes to Asian food. Like you said, when you think of Asian food, here, at least in Germany, most people associate Asian food with Thai food or your typical Chinese restaurants. So when they come and experience our food, it's very interesting to see the reaction that they have given what ends up on their plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens while you are up there for 3 months? Would the food truck continue to roll, or how do you do this now?
Yeah. So our food truck continues to function at the same time as the restaurant. We have set lunch locations that we've established with the food truck. And we also do private caterings for weddings and birthday parties, for example, company openings, company parties, and both the restaurant and the food truck are running simultaneously.
Right, so parang lagari yan ah. So who's going to do what? So you have a particular time when you're open up there for lunch. Who's going to be driving the truck, and is it you, or do you have somebody else doing that?
With the team that we have at the moment, I'm in both places, but I run the food truck myself whenever the food truck goes out, and then we have a very capable team of also running the restaurant. It's been interesting because we've been in the kitchen of the restaurant for the last 3 weeks. However, it's working fairly well. It's a lot of work, but at the same time, as a Filipino, we are used to putting in the time and the effort and the energy. We adapt to the situation, and as Filipinos do, we're just able to adjust. Also, given the times with the uncertainty of the pandemic, it's been quite an experience so far running the food truck and the restaurant through what we're going through at the moment.
Well, I can imagine the challenge, while this pandemic also greatly affects the gastronomy business, there is also some good things out of it, because there is a huge demand for takeout food, for quick food. It's something that you can do outdoors, like your truck. And having said that, I would like to ask, do you have a regular schedule in different places where you have your truck? Like, are you in one place on Monday, on Tuesday? Do you continue that despite the presence of your new restaurant?
Yeah, Opo. So to end 2021, we had 3 set locations for lunch with the food truck. On Tuesdays, for example, we were in the industrial area of the city in Donautal in front of a company called Hagman. So we park our food truck there from 11:30 until 1:30. On Thursdays, we are in front of the Sudwestpresse main office and building, part of the city of Ulm. And on Fridays, we are at Science Park 2 in front of a company called Scan Plus.
Okay. So maybe you could also post that on weekends, you said?
Yeah, and on the weekends, we started the food truck in June during the summer. And so the weekends were reserved for food festivals, for example, as well as parties and events. A lot of the caterings for parties happened on the weekends. The reason why we don't have set locations on the weekends was exactly for this, in order to be able to be mobile and move around.
Be more flexible.
But we've been, we don't, because it is a food truck, we're not limited to just Ulm and Neu-Ulm, which where we actually live. But we've been as far as the Allgäu, for example, down to the south. And so this is the beauty of a food truck. I think places like Stuttgart and Frankfurt, which are far away, this is also something that we can explore. And
Wait, I was going to get into that I will not
Okay.
stop until I get you here in Stuttgart.
Yeah.
Well,
We're very happy to be invited, and it would be an honor for us to be there. You guys had the Philippine Consulate of Stuttgart and Frankfurt had the Pinoy Fest here in Ulm, and
yes, let me just go back to that.
we're
Yes.
very honored to be invited to participate and provide food for the event. And I'm happy to recreate that food experience in other cities.
Yes, well, we have, well, if not for this pandemic, we actually planned of inviting you to the Sinulog Festival, but now with the current situation, we are, there's no choice but to tone it down, and probably we'll do it next year, but we'll still find a way to get you here. I mean, there's still a lot of options for us to, we have the entire year next year to plan for what we can do together here in Stuttgart. All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about, maybe you could also post your schedule on your Facebook page so that people would know where to go and storm and visit you if they happen to be in that place, then they could particularly time their visit when you are there.
Sure.
Well, going back to that, so what prompted you to go into this food business, and how did you go about introducing the product to the market, and how are the market reacting to this business, to your food business?
Good question. So I'm Filipino. My parents are both. Si Mama taga Batangas po, and then my father is Ilocano.
Can you speak the dialect, if I may ask?
Ilocano po?
Yes.
Hindi ko kabisado ng Ilocano, pero nakakatagalog po.
Ay, very good. At least you can speak Tagalog.
So I switched to English. But my parents, I was born in the Philippines along with my two other siblings. And at the age of 8, we left the Philippines because my father was working for United Laboratories, and they sent him to Indonesia for business. And so I grew up in Indonesia. I am the definition of the quintessential third culture kid.
You are the definition of an Asian fusion, I would say.
It comes out with the food too.
Yeah.
My lolo and my lola, they live in Hawaii. They migrated to Hawaii about 40 years ago. So I went to university in Hawaii. I lived and worked in Hawaii for 10 years. And then I decided to travel in 2010. I took a backpack and I traveled for 1 year. And this is the time that I met Sibilla. And Sibilla and I lived in Vietnam for 10 years. After that, we have 2 children. One was born in Vietnam, and then that's Luca, our panganay, who's now 3.
How old is he? Yeah, okay, 3.
Yeah, and then Benjin is our bunso, and he's now 1.5, and he was born here in Ulm, in the Donau Clinic. The reason why we decided to move back to Germany 2 years ago is because Sibilla is German, and Oma and Opa live right down the road from us. And so we wanted the kids not only to be close, not only to learn the language, but be closer to family. And this is why we decided to come back in 2020. It was a difficult transition. The challenges that we faced at that time, we were at the start of the lockdowns. We were actually in the Philippines at the beginning of March 2020.
Yes.
And we were able to enter Germany just before Germany started their lockdowns here. And so this is
so if I make, sorry, so after all this moving around, and what led you to do a food business? Is it because you're in a new place and you gotta work, and it's something that is close to your heart, or what was the moving force behind starting the business?
So the reason why the food truck is called Pacifico is because I've lived most of my life in Pacific Islands, around the Pacific, and island nations, and I've basically whenever I travel or visit countries, I eat my way through the
Mhm.
countries. It's a great way to get to know the culture.
Mhm.
And because of this, I've been exposed to such a variety of different cuisines. And the food truck itself was, I'm a foodie at heart, and I've been cooking for friends and family for a very long time. And yeah, at one point, I talked to Sibylla about starting a food business, but given the uncertainty with the pandemic, it did not make any sense to start directly with a restaurant. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
in order to, again, the food that we serve is not your typical Asian flair. And in order to prove the concept, during the pandemic, and of course, I had to adjust to the new living conditions. It made sense to start the food truck. And so far, the reception that we've had to the food from most people has been quite positive. You know, of course, adobo is a Filipino classic, and I don't know one person who doesn't like adobo.
Well, you have your Asian food. Is this El Nido, Seoul, Bohol, Davao, and Bandung? I suppose
Yes.
Bandung is Indonesian.
Correct.
Yeah, and Davao, you also did before during our event, you did special
Yeah.
recipe
So
with all the
picture
Filipino.
there was a special menu designed specifically for the Pinoy Fest. That
So you do that also, coming up with a specific menu for the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, some of our caterings get specific requests for various food options.
What's your most
the-
in-demand recipe, by the way? What is the people that they say, oh, let's say that regardless which group would like to have a catering, which option do they say, I want to have this? No?
Our most popular dish, you mean?
Yeah, yes.
It's pancit.
Our well-loved pancit, of course.
Yeah. So the pancit, it's very. This is what we grew up with in the Philippines, and you know, eating pancit is very common to us. But for the Germans, it seems to be an exotic food. It's our most common dish, in fact. And yes, our menu. All of the menu items have names of cities in which I've traveled to or visited or lived in. And there's some sentimental connection between the menu and the names of these places to me. And this is why I named some of the dishes as such. For example, our lumpia is called Cavite. And my mom, she now lives in Cavite. Whenever I go visit, our si Manang Nelia po, she has the best lumpia that I've ever had in my life. And in fact, I took her recipe, and this is the recipe that I've been using for our version of lumpia.
Okay. Did you also make use of regionally available products? I mean, you know, not all of your ingredients are from Asian shop, but you also make use of what's available regionally.
Yes. And so this is why I cannot fully say that my food is authentic, because coming across authentic Asian ingredients, sometimes that's not an option. But we try and get the flavors as close as possible to what I experienced in those various countries, living abroad and traveling across the Pacific also. So not only do we have Filipino items on our menu, but we also have items from Indonesia, from Vietnam. We do some Hawaiian food. I've done, it's funny because I did an event where they asked me to do burgers. Of course, it's Germany, you know. And I said, okay, but I'm going to do burgers my way. And they
with pineapple or so.
Well, the first thing that people come to when they're coming to the food truck and they expect burgers is that they expect bread, you know. Where's the bun? But no, my burgers are served, for example, on rice. And one of the dishes that I experienced in Hawaii is called the loco moco. And so the Hawaiian flavors have also made it onto the menu. like I said, the menu is quite interesting because most people have not yet experienced this kind of cuisine. And for example, what really brings a smile to my face is during one of the private caterings, we were asked to do some shrimp, and it's now made it to our menu at the hotel. It's called Boracay, and it's basically sauteed shrimp and garlic and my secret sauce. But what's great to see is, like the elderly traditional Germans who are using their hands to peel the shrimp, and it brings a smile to my face to see that. It's part of our culture to eat with our hands.
With hands,
No, it's kamayan po. And
yes,
that here, we share not only our food experiences, but also our cultural, as a Filipino, our culture with the German.
So your menu is also evolving because you somehow see people discover the flavor, and maybe you come up with new ideas once with what you see from the reaction of your customers. No, well, going back to the food business, there are a lot of people here in Germany who are doing yung mga luto-luto. They provide shipment of food, and they haven't really opened up a restaurant, but I am always hoping that somebody would open a restaurant here in Stuttgart. I know it's not easy. What are your advice or maybe tips? I know it's not easy, then you surely face some challenges. But what is it that they have to focus on so that they could successfully start a business?
Good question. I'm also new to the food and beverage industry, but what's more important is I'm new to Germany. So for me, navigating through the bureaucracies of the government and making sure that you connect to the different amps and organizing all of the certificates that are necessary. It's really important to have somebody who understands all of that and can navigate through it. So for me, Sibylla has been instrumental in getting Pacifico up and running. Pacifico would not be Pacifico without her. And even though I'm in the food truck and I'm in the restaurant and I'm cooking, she is responsible for making sure that the admin is correct. Now,
so the patience to go through the paperwork and the nitty-gritty is essential, you're saying. But these are, of course, birth pains. Sorry?
But ganun naman ang mga Pilipina. I mean, we really put our heart and our soul into the things that we do, and the effort and the energy. We're able to do this, and
and everything starts with a single step, and it's you start slowly but surely, and there are always difficulties at the beginning. But
and it's a lot of work. The food industry it's one of the most difficult industries to get into, from what I understand.
And very strict also with the Gesundheitsamt, no?
Exactly. So as long as you have some sort of business plan and some sort of organization, and also there's a little bit of luck that's involved here. The biggest advice I can give to people who are starting is just keep on it. And it's very different cooking for friends and family as opposed to cooking for a multitude of people. I think organization and making sure that you're prepped properly is a big part of the success of a restaurant or even a food truck. When you have to serve 70 people in 1 hour,
that's
you
not
have
easy.
to make sure that the prep is correct. And 90% of the success of a food truck is in the preparation. So I'm also happy to collaborate with other Filipinos or anybody else who's looking to open a Filipino restaurant.
That's a good offer now.
Let's talk. And I'm happy to share the information that I have. It's not rocket science, but it's a lot of collaboration, and you have to know the proper departments to contact in order to get up and running. But at Roda, like you said, there are birth pains, and once everything has been put together, then things have been smooth enough.
Yeah, look at you. You have your truck and now you have your pop-up. Okay, speaking of pop-up, I give you the opportunity to again invite our well, everybody to come and visit your store. You had your first opening, or is that a soft opening and there'll be a new one? Then invite everybody now.
So we had our grand opening party on December 4. Despite the increased restrictions that we're dealing with due to the rise of the infections and the pandemic, it's not what I really wanted to do, because we were hit with the new regulations just before the opening party.
And you missed us.
I know. We invited you guys, and unfortunately, because of what we're dealing with, you weren't able to make it. However, that was part one. And
Yeah.
when the conditions allow for better situation, then we will have our part two. We have to see what's going on this year, but we're in the restaurant until the end of March. So I promise you at the Roda, you guys will have a chance to come back and experience part two of the grand opening party at Mieno. So we'll be there. We're serving lunch and dinner from Tuesday to Sunday. And we'll have some events coming up in January. But if you go on Pacifico's Facebook page or our Instagram page, we always update our schedule at the beginning of the week. And then if there are any events that come up, this is also a good way to follow us and keep up with our locations as well as the events that are coming up this year.
Well, we will definitely wait for the right time to see your pop-up store, and we look forward to visiting it. In the meantime, we have to just follow the rules. No? Well, in Malaysian fusion food combined with ingredients sourced from region make the best dishes that never fail to make a culinary impact on consumers. More so when it is created by someone like you, Brian, who personifies the word fusion itself, having experienced Asia and the many islands along the Pacific and its various cultures. Our very own Filipino dishes is as diverse as a country as we've ever been, and this growing appreciation for such delicious blend of flavors and textures that make eating a unique experience for any diner. Starting a food business may seem quite easy, but it's not, like Brian said. However, like anything else, it comes with rewards and challenges. With the right combination of a well thought out business plan, combined with a good business acumen, and like Brian said, a little bit of luck, plus of course the tulungan from our kababayan or some help from our fellow Filipinos, then you will surely somehow find your own path to success with your own food business. Thank you, Brian, for joining us today and for promoting the uniqueness of Filipino and Asian fusion cuisine with Pacifico Food Truck.
Thank you, Dinpo, for having us. It's been a very interesting challenge. There are challenges that we've gone through, and I really thank you for allowing us to share our story and for supporting us all the time. So we hope to see you guys soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Tao at Serbisyo, Ang Galing ng Pilipino. This is Roda Stigmeyer from the Filipino Honorary Consulate in Stuttgart with Pacifico Food Trucks Brian Caleda. Maraming salamat and see you soon.
Patuloy mo, galing ng Pilipino, galing ng ating lahi na sa palad mo. Ipagpatuloy mo, galing ng Pilipino, galing mong natatag, ipag-yamanin mo. Oh, 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 oh. Aking galing ipagpatuloy